My name is Claudia, and I work for the Factory Farming Awareness Coalition. We are an educational nonprofit that talks to people about the impacts of our food choices. So typically what I do is I go to different schools every single day, and I do between 10 and 20 presentations every single week in high schools and colleges about the impacts of our food choices, trying to educate people about how our food system is not only making us sick, but is also hurting the environment, hurting animals, world hunger, climate change. Almost all of the world's most pressing issues can be traced right back to what we're discussing today. So, we all used to sing Old MacDonald, right? Everyone in here? Old MacDonald had a farm for a week. Yeah. And when we walk into grocery stores, have y'all ever seen images like this on milk cartons or egg crates? Have you guys seen pictures of rolling green hills and happy cows? Have you guys seen labels like free range and organic and cage-free?
Yeah.
Yeah. So big ag, animal agriculture, spends hundreds of millions of dollars a year to lie to consumers like us, to make us believe that the animals that we eat are still raised on Old MacDonald's farm. But that's really not the case anymore. The animals that we eat today are raised on concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs, which is the technical term for a factory farm. So even the cartons of eggs that we see with labels like free range and organic are actually coming from facilities like this. And that has a lot to do with why this industry is making us so sick and is causing so many problems for the environment. So does anyone have a guess, just an idea of how many animals are killed each year in this country for food? If anyone in here already saw me do this presentation, don't raise your hand, but if you haven't, yes, what's your guess?
I'm gonna guess probably a little over 1.5 billion.
1.5 billion? It's actually about 9 billion. How many humans live on the planet?
7.6 billion.
Yeah, so that means we kill more animals just in this country every single year for food than there are human beings on the entire face of the earth. And what percentage, do you remember how we just talked about factory farms or CAFOs? Remember we saw those images of animals in sheds? CAFOs, yeah. What percentage of those 9 billion animals do y'all think are raised on those factory farms?
I'm guess 99.98%.
You, my dear, are correct. You're doing great today. Yes, it's about 99%. Regardless of whether we see labels like free range and organic, 99% of these animals are raised on factory farms. So what does this mean? The hallmark of factory farming is intensive confinement. This is the practice of keeping sentient animals in cages, basically immobilized in crates and cages for their entire lives, unable to ever even move or see the sun or go outside or play. So here we can see the conditions in which mother pigs or egg-laying hens or dairy cows or baby turkeys are kept. What happened to the pig? So pigs, that's a mother pig or a breeding sow locked in a gestation crate. She'll spend about 2.5 years in one of those crates, never able to even turn around or fully extend her limbs. And she'll be impregnated every 16 weeks, and then her babies will be taken and slaughtered every 2 months. So she's a breeding sow. So this is what the conditions for all of these animals that we eat today are raised. Of course, this has some pretty serious animal welfare implications, but it also has a lot to do with why Americans today are so sick. So because these animals are immobilized in crates and cages for their entire lives in filthy sheds, they're fed huge amounts of drugs like antibiotics and hormones, other types of drugs to keep them alive until slaughter in conditions that would typically kill them within just a few days. So the relationship between antibiotics and bacteria is kind of like an arms race. We have thousands of stressed animals packed into filthy spaces, and they're fed subtherapeutic levels of antibiotics to keep them alive until slaughter in conditions that would typically kill them. But then those antibiotics can easily spread to the animals on these facilities and cause stronger, newer bacteria and viruses to evolve, which then gets in our meat. So actually most of the meat in the United States contains antibiotic-resistant bacteria. So now as more and more of us get food poisoning and stomach bugs, we have to be hospitalized because our strains are antibiotic resistant. This does mean that we could face a post-antibiotic era where we could die from strep throat or going to the dentist because we're immune to these life-saving drugs. Has everyone in here taken antibiotics before? And did y'all feel better pretty quickly?
Yeah.
Like maybe not within an hour, but within maybe a couple of days.
Yeah.
And what do you think would have happened if you had been immune to those antibiotics, if they hadn't worked? You would have gotten worse or maybe even died. So this, along with climate change, are the two biggest threats facing humanity as we know it. And they're both caused predominantly by meat production or animal agriculture. Now, of course, remember we said we kill 9 billion animals a year, right? Living, breathing, eating, drinking, pooping animals. We're going to talk a little bit about poop today.
Yay.
And that's really where the problem comes in. So these animals are mostly eating genetically modified corn and soy. They're the largest consumers of corn and soy in the whole world. And almost all of the world's genetically modified grain is only grown to feed animals on factory farms. And this grain is typically grown in rainforests like the Amazon. There are 2 acres of forest cleared every minute for grazing grass-fed cattle or growing all of these crops to feed to animals on factory farms. Actually, 65% of Amazon deforestation is due just to animal agriculture. Can anyone tell me why deforestation is so bad? What's wrong with deforestation?
Because trees produce
Oxygen, yes. Our meat consumption is tearing down the lungs of the earth. Why else? Why else do we need rainforests? Wild animals, exactly. So because animal agriculture is the #1 cause of deforestation, it's also the leading cause of global species extinction. And then of course this corn and soy uses lots and lots of water to grow. When people talk to you about how to conserve water, what have they typically told y'all to do? Anyone that I haven't heard from yet? All right, what can you tell me? Water off while we brush our teeth. What else? Has anyone ever told you to take? Yeah.
Shorter showers.
Shorter showers, exactly, right? And that's a nice start, but actually the impact is pretty small. It's almost negligent because only 5% of the water in this whole country is used for domestic use. Every single one of us taking showers, brushing our teeth, watering our lawns, filling our pools, cleaning our cars, washing our dishes, flushing the toilet. That only uses, what? That only uses 5% of the water in the country. Yeah. But actually 55%, over half of all of the water in the United States is used for animal agriculture. In fact, 1 gallon of milk is equivalent to 27 showers worth of water. And 1 hamburger is equivalent to a month and a half's worth of water. So what do you guys think that you can do to help conserve water? Take shorter showers or eat lower on the food chain, more efficiently grown plant-based products? What do you think? Eat less cows and chickens and turkeys, yeah.
I guess I just had a question. What about like the other 45%?
Yeah, the other 45, that's a great question. The other 45% is like industry. So for example, car manufacturers, product production and cleaning, hydrofracking, restaurants, and then all of the water that's used to grow the plants that are fed directly to humans.
Okay,
So the
makes sense.
55% is the corn, soy, and alfalfa that's grown to feed animals on factory farms. And the other 45% includes all of industry and all of the crops that are grown to feed just to humans. Because remember, there's 300 million Americans that only weigh, 130 to 200 pounds, and we're growing way more crops to feed 9 billion animals that weigh up to 3,000 pounds. Make sense?
Yeah.
And so all of the water used to grow all those crops way surpasses the amount of water used for us.
Does drinking water count as the domestic organism or not?
Yes, it does. Yep. And then, of course, all of these animals are pooping a lot. I'm going to get to questions a little bit at the end, but I do think it's important to just get to some of these things. So all these animals are pooping a lot, and that produces greenhouse gases, which leads to climate change. When people talk to you about how to conserve or how to reduce your carbon footprint, what do they typically tell you to do?
Drive less.
Drive less, yes. Drive less, ride our bikes, get a hybrid. Remember how I said that taking shorter showers has a really small, if any, impact on our water footprint? The same thing goes for driving less. Driving less has a really small, if any, impact on our carbon footprint compared to our food choices. Because according to the United Nations, the animals we eat, or meat production, produces way, way, way more greenhouse gases than all of the world's planes, trains, cars, buses, and boats combined. So we've talked about some really shocking stuff, but there is some great news. It's that because people like you are learning about these issues and making kinder, healthier, more sustainable choices every day, there were 400 million fewer animals killed in the United States between 2010 and 2013. That's hundreds of millions of fewer animals spared a life of horrific suffering, producing greenhouse gas emissions, causing global warming, using all of our land, water, and grain, causing world hunger and water scarcity. That is so powerful. That speaks to the power of the individual consumer, of our dollar, of supply and demand more than anything else could. When there are so many horrible things happening in the world, I think it's really easy to feel helpless and powerless, maybe even a little apathetic. There's nothing I can do to help the world, so I'm not going to try to do anything at all. But this is something we can really do. In fact, this is the one thing, the only thing that we can do as individuals with this big of an impact on every major world issue. We just learned that driving less has a pretty small impact on climate change. But replacing one burger a week with, a veggie burger has a massive impact, not only on climate change, but on water scarcity, water pollution, deforestation, species extinction, ocean acidification, ocean dead zones, soil erosion, workers' rights abuses, animal welfare, public health, and world hunger all at once. You can be a superhero every day. You can change the world. Not a single day goes by that we don't have an impact on the world around us, and it's totally up to us what kind of an impact we want that to be. FFAC is devoted to educating consumers about the horrors of this industry so that we can learn the truth. We can fight big ag and the billions of dollars that they spend on hiding the truth from consumers so that we can save the world's resources for human generations to come. We have the power right in our hands, and every dollar that's donated to FFAC goes to educating more and more consumers about the impacts of this industry and giving us tangible ways that we can make a difference in this world every single day with our own choices. So thank you all so much for your time. You've been fantastic. I appreciate you. Do we have time for
questions?
Okay, we're gonna hold questions. Okay.
So if you have a question and it's very specific, you probably want to write it on the back of your note catcher, because that way both of our presenters have an opportunity to talk, and then we can kind of hopefully squeeze in a third video. And then at the end, we can answer more questions.